Good morning and happy Tuesday. My name is Marina Nugent and my business is called Time to Sparkle and Shine. And I work with amazingly powerful, intuitive women who sometimes happen to be going through big life challenges. And I'm here to help and support them rediscover their power. I'm doing a series of interviews with powerful women. This morning, and her name is Marina Beech, the Soul Alchemist. And she's going to join me this morning. Yes, she's on.
I'm
There's always
here.
a bit of, will it, won't it?
When it actually works, it's great.
Oh, Lord, Marina, welcome and happy Tuesday.
Yeah, happy Tuesday to you. How are you? You're looking all sparkly, which is great.
Thank you. Yes, I have embraced the sparkle, so I have, because I do believe that part of life is that we should enhance our sparkle. So this is via, obviously, technology, but that's fine too.
Absolutely. Yeah, if we've got the technology there, if we can embrace it in any way, shape or form, it's a good thing.
Yeah, well, you come with your own sparkle anyway, so you do. So listen, I'm so delighted. As you know, I'm doing a series where I chat to, because it's not really an interview, but it's more about the women that I connect with that I feel are really, really powerful, and that have followed been through the mill, come out the other side, and it's honed the direction in which they're going in, and their abilities along the way. And you are actually one of those.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll go back anyway. So when you were growing up, were you aware that you were like intuitive, or that you were guided, or like when were you first aware that, or when did your curiosity, when was it ignited?
Yeah, so I don't have any experiences. I know that quite a few people have experiences when they're younger and, perhaps saw spirit. I'm kind of a bit more run of the mill, and I didn't have any defining moments that I could remember. I was very creative as a child, and I know obviously creativity is an aspect of, I guess, somebody that's, kind of tuned in and honed in on their intuition. And my intuition did come through to me in the sense that if things felt wrong, then I would get that gut instinct, but never really anything above that. And for me, that's probably the strongest feelings I had. But my interest was piqued around, well, actually, through growing up, I was interested in kind of, not necessarily called the occult, but things like Ouija boards and tarot cards. And so I did very much have that kind of interest in that type of those types of things. And I got my first pack of cards at 17, and I got a pendulum a little time after that. And so I started to do readings from around that age. So I did always have that interest in kind of not really understanding at the time that there was something more than just the physical and what we could see. But I couldn't define it as that. I just had an interest. I found it very fascinating, and ghosts hunting and all that type of stuff really did float my boat. So I guess that's kind of and I guess I followed my intuition in the sense that I allowed myself to have that curiosity and explore that side of life. So
yeah, and I think what you describe about, because I wouldn't also have been aware of spirits or anything like that, but have had a fascination of the world outside of our own enough that it allowed me to explore, and that sounds very much like the guidance that you were getting. It's like,
yes.
And you were looking, I mean, you were in like 17 or whatever, which was lovely, because you were open to the possibilities. And mine didn't happen until probably later in life. It's like I had to do all the mundane things before I allowed myself to go into
I mean, I did all that as well, but
yeah. And when you were doing the readings, did you did you start with the book, or did you go and say, well, listen, listen, do you know what I feel?
Yeah, no, definitely very much the book. I and I think that's probably fear and programming. And also what I've realized, and this was only in a recent kind of thing when I really reflected back on it, I had a very skewed idea around what psychic abilities were and what intuition was. So I always had this kind of view that it was clairvoyancy skills, it was premonition, and talking to spirit in that way. And so because I didn't have those gifts, they're not my gifts, clairvoyancy isn't my gift, that I then kind of deemed that I was not intuitive, that I didn't have the eye, I didn't have these skills. And so I kind of really forced myself, well, I'll need to read it from the book because I can't trust myself. I don't have those gifts, not really understanding that intuition and our gifts talk to us in many different ways. And that's only kind of in the last few years that I've realized, I'm clairaudient, and I have a sense of knowing. My claircognizance is my strongest gift. Clairvoyancy may come to me, it may not, but that's okay. But I didn't understand that because we were surrounded by what was on TV and what was portrayed in the media. That's just, I thought it was that way or nothing, So,
or nothing.
So my ego was kind of like, well, you don't have any gifts, so you just got to do it from the book, and and that was it. But I stuck with it because I enjoyed doing these readings for my friends and for my family. But I didn't allow myself, I think, only until I got back into tarot, which was, say, 5 years ago, that I really started to look in the card and pick up on the symbols within the card, because that's how I read the cards, and the channeling. I was just then started to allow myself to channel, which I hadn't done ever before. And that's, again, how I bring my information through. It's just connecting with my guides and channeling that information.
But you went into mainstream, like us all. We all did.
Yes, Sorry, go on.
No, it's going to just. So, what was the job that you actually did? And obviously, because I know because it was creative, it did actually feed part of you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I was always determined, because I came from a creative background. I learned music and I did fine art as a degree. So I knew that I wasn't going to become a painter or anything like that. So it was kind of like, well, how can I make money from my creativity? So I'd always worked in retail as a kind of part-time anyway. So it seemed to me that it was a great way to combine the two. So I really got into visual merchandising, which visual merchandisers are the people that create window displays. They do interior, if you're working for, say, a homeware retailer, you would do the interior designs, the room sets. And so I kind of carved a career in visual merchandising, and eventually became a global visual merchandising manager for a company for 15 years. So it was a career that I loved, and it was a career that I did for more than 30 years. And then the redundancies started to come.
And I think people don't realize sometimes that that's just a cue for you to move on, and sometimes it takes a while for that lesson, for that message to actually go through. And for you, I think it was pretty much the same, wasn't it?
So it was on the fourth redundancy, I then decided to listen and actually hang on. What is going on here? Why can't I get back into this industry? And so it forced me to really review and look at my life and kind of where I was up to at that point. I kind of come to this crossroads, and it was then started to question, well, what am I here to do? And what I've now come to realise is that I needed to start to let go of my 3D corporate identity, because that's what that's how I was perceiving myself, as this person. And, it worked actually, it worked well for 30 years, but that wasn't who I was truly at soul level. So, so I then went on this journey, this spiritual journey, and I went through my awakening with the Akashic Records, which allowed me to further go deeper with my own stuff. But I needed to clear my psychological addiction to alcohol first in order for me to be able to do that. So that was my introduction to the Akashic Records.
Excuse me. I always think it's fascinating the direction, because each one of the women that I've spoken to, have gone in specific directions depending on the guidance. And you were talking about gifts there, and the clairaudience, clairsentient, and some of them, because they're quite subtle, they take a little bit of work to actually learn to trust, to trust what
Yeah,
it is you're
totally.
hearing, or trust in what it is that you're feeling, or trust, that, yeah, I mean, it definitely is, it is a work in progress. And because they're so subtle, that it takes a little bit of time and effort to allow yourself to learn to trust that these are
Absolutely.
your gifts, and that
Yeah.
that your ability. Because if you sense something, sometimes you can sense and know, but it can happen, it needs to happen a couple of times before you say, I knew that was going to happen. Why didn't I trust myself? So it's really, really interesting. So all of these gifts you were developing along the way, whether we realize them or not, that's exactly what it is that's happening, even no matter what job that you're doing. So for the Akashic Records, can you explain, for those that maybe don't know what the Akashic Records are, what are they? And what was it about them that drew you? Like, I mean, because there's obviously, you were following the clues, because that's what we have to do. Follow the clues to
Yeah.
see where they lead us. So the Akashic Records, you're on.
Yeah, so yeah, and you're right, I was following the nudges, but I didn't know for one moment that I would end up in the Akashic Records. But because I'd started with my spiritual awakening, I'd started with connecting with angels.
Yeah.
And that was really supportive, I think, from a healing perspective. It really kind of started me on my healing journey. And it was via the angels and my mentor and teacher at the time, which was Ashlyn Mooney. She was hosting an event in her group, and there was a lady on there that worked with the Akashic Records, and she worked with the pendulum, which was fabulous.
Okay.
And the Akashic Records is, just to let people know, it's a fifth dimensional realm. It's kind of an energetic field that we can connect to. Anybody can connect to it. If you are watching this program, then or watching this live, then you can absolutely connect with your Akashic Records. It just takes a little bit of time and practice. And it's a field which holds lots of information. So it's ever growing, because there's more and more souls being born on the planet every second. And it records every single choice, consequence, story, memory, thought that you've ever had since your soul's creation. So there's a load of information, a ton of information around all your past lives, whether they be here, whether they be in other dimensions, whether they be in other star systems. It is all recorded in the Akashic Records. And our Akashic Records are actually part of our physical body. They're part of your energetic DNA, but we visualize them as a library, because from our 3D mind, it's easier to get our heads
Something
around.
we can equate to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you can imagine, every book that's within the library is a lifetime, and it holds all of that information. And so we can connect with the Akashic Records just by your intention. Having an open mind, being curious, not really having a high expectation of what you're going to get, because you can come away feeling disappointed, but just being curious about going in. And I use them in a number of ways, and if I'm working with people in groups, I tend to do it through visualization, or an embodiment of the Akashic Records, and I take them on a journey. So with this particular session that I was seeing in this group, there was this lady that worked with the Akashic Records. I didn't know anything about the Akashic Records. And I'd been on my journey then to that point, kind of probably about 18 months, still working with angels and kind of really exploring and doing my tarot. And we had a question that we were able to submit before she went live. And the question that I chose was, I wanted to know what my master program was, thinking, this is going to show me what my life purpose is, and it's going to kind of give me some direction.
Oh, it'll be revealed.
Because I still didn't have an idea. I've just been following the nudges. And actually, the master program was actually something that was holding you back. It was in your subconscious, and mine was alcoholism. And it was like, oh my God, the pennies dropped. So to that point, I hadn't got a physical addiction to alcohol, because I'd really kind of got my intake down to just a few units a week. But the psychological addiction was very much there, and it was kind of a constant thing that I was doing every day, battling to not have a drink. And when can I have my next drink? And then when you did have a drink, it was the guilt and the shame and everything that you felt afterwards, because you'd kind of succumbed to that need. And so she switched it off, and within 5 seconds she cleared it with the pendulum from the Akashic Records, and my switch was switched off. And that was literally just over 4 years ago that happened. And so it was kind of like, oh my God, I need to find out what the Akashic Records are first of all.
Yeah, the power. Yeah.
And then how can I use them to kind of really support others with this same kind of transformation. And what it did for me was having that switch switched off. It just opened up my energy, in terms of my mental energy was now not being taken away, but it also allowed me to really go deep with some of the stuff that I clearly didn't want to look at, and which is why I was drinking. It was allowing me to kind of look at that in a deeper way, all the shadow stuff that you have to do. It was allowing that to come forward as well. So it was part of the journey, and it was my introduction into Akashic Records. But we were talking about this the other day, and in terms of, I got the insight probably why I needed to have it in that such a profound way in terms of introduction, is because my ego probably needed the results, the magic, straight away,
the aha moment.
This stuff actually works. I know we're gonna clear something so big that there's absolutely no way that you wouldn't trust it, and to kind of get you into
or start the self-doubt, and
so
it comes in.
My ego needed the proof, and so the proof was given, so then I could fully embrace the journey and my mission in terms of bringing this to anybody that wishes to learn about the Akashic Records.
Do people know when they, now this is going to be a strange one because I'm not even sure what question is forming in my mind, but do we know when, would you know when it's somebody's maybe last time coming here? Like, would that information be there, or that they're, that they've all their box ticked and say, okay, you don't have to do this anymore. You've cleared this, you've cleared this, you've cleared this. So is there a sense of, we speak about past lives and lives that we're going to lead in the future. And I know choice is a big part of what it is when we come in, the experience that we choose. But I suppose what I'm asking is, like, is there a decision at the end and say, yes, I'm just pure spirit. I don't need to, I don't need to be coming back here to be doing all this work. Because, a lot of, when you start on this, you do have to do your own stuff. I always, it was explained to me, it's like you fill black sacks on the way, and you really have to go and clear them and dump them before you can move on, and that's pretty much, you have to do it, I have to do it. Anybody that goes on a soul journey, they have to do these sort of things. So is there an end in sight, I suppose, is what I'm asking? Or is that a strange question to ask you?
No, it's not a strange question. It's a great question. And you know what? It's not something that I've ever explored. When I've worked with clients and they know that this is their last time, they've already made that decision. So it is very much, I believe, about choice. And whether, once we pass over and we kind of then do our soul's review or whatever it is, whatever process that it is that we go through, whether you actually have that choice because you've done enough, I don't know, because I don't remember. But
none of us are there yet.
But from an Akashic Records perspective, we can't tell the future in the Akashic Records because there's just too many variables. Because we can, I've now chosen to pick this book up, but I could have chosen to pick this crystal up. And so the Akashic Records will record all of the, the future probables, but it's whatever we
and
choose.
Each one would have a different effect on what it is.
Different consequence, because it is all, it's
too many.
Recording choice and consequence. So from my perspective, if we choose that we don't want to come back, then we make that choice. But I don't obviously know what the process is afterwards and whether we've done enough learning from a karmic perspective, because it's karma that keeps us here. and our lessons and our experiences. So it's and when I've had my own Akashic Records read with a lady that channels Akashic Records, she said, you know, you're just at the front of the queue every time that you come back round because you love the human experience so much that it's kind of like I'm jumping up and down, ready to come down. Which I can understand because I do really enjoy being in a physical body. I enjoy being here, but I know a lot of my clients are not on that same page.
Yeah. And was there a book that you read that you know, that sort of encapsulate what you did, or that, you know, enhanced your life, or that went, you know, that was like, oh, aha, you know, I really, really enjoy that. There's definitely something in, you know, that it's given you an extra insight or understanding?
Well, I went straight into doing soul realignment, my soul realignment training. So I literally got all of my Akashic Records introduction through that training rather than a book. But then have gone back and looked at other people's teachings around the Akashic Records. And so I'm just thinking if this actually is quite a good book. This is Melissa Fake. So Melissa Fake. Or Feek. And so she has a radical approach to the Akashic Records, but ultimately they're an energetic database, and it's just how people choose to kind of work with them. And that to me is the only difference from these different books that I've read. But yeah, that's a good book to start with. If you look at Jennifer Longmore, she's been working in the Akashic Records for like 17 years. So her perception around the Akashic Records is great. Sandra, the Akashic Tarot, which is what I use. So Sandra Ann Taylor, I think, or Sharon Ann Klinger. I think it's Sharon Ann Taylor. She's got a book on the Akashic Records as well, like an introduction to the Akashic Records. So if you kind of Google it, you'll find there's a number of books out there that would be supportive. And if you want to go with the traditional stuff, which I've not read, you would then be looking at things like Edgar Cayce, who was the
I've read his books.
He's talked about the Akashic Records, but you know, I'm more of a doer, so I like to just immerse myself and get in there and start doing it rather than actually reading it from that way. My understanding comes from the practical.
From a different, and I think what you know, having all of these people out there is just the reference points for people to give them a sense of what it is, and then it's like, and sometimes it's only just about expanding your awareness, and the fact that that this is actually a tool that you know that they can use. So if somebody's so what's your session like then, Marina, when somebody comes to you? What is it the first thing, you know, obviously you have the connection first, and pretty much everybody I'd say that comes to you would believe in the Akashic Records anyway. Or is that yes or no? Or are they just coming out of curiosity?
It depends on what kind of session. So if I'm doing a group session, then I would say most people are familiar with the Akashic Records or curious. And so I take them into their own Akashic Records through visualization. Now, if you're coming to me on a one-to-one session, I do all of the research first. And so the session is really about understanding what your blocks and restrictions are, what your soul profile is and your soul identity is in terms of how you've been created. So the information shared on that particular session is very much more about discussion, conversation. So the client can understand how to move forward. So they don't get taken into their Akashic Records or any of that. It's more of a coaching type session. So we can kind of find a way forward. And with the one-to-one work, we're always working with the client's intention. So what they want to achieve over the next 6 months. And that's then directs me what I find in terms of, you know, blocks and restrictions and what is holding them back. So it could be ancestral vows. It might be contracts. It could be that they've got, most of my clients that come to me have some form of an attaching soul, which sounds very scary. It's not. It just means that that soul is having a continuing relationship with that soul on a subconscious level, on an energetic level.
So that means two souls are connected, like are they like intertwined and they're living their lives simultaneously, or they're in they would be part of their family group, or?
No, they're
No.
not. What they have been is normally either a partner or parents or maybe a child or a sibling, and they've died in that
Oh,
lifetime
okay.
whilst that person, but they've died in trauma, they've not realised they've died, and so they continue to exist, but they haven't transitioned
Ah,
appropriately, and so they
okay.
run programs. These so we move those attaching souls on, but also just means that then the client doesn't have this background program running, and energetically, they're completely cleared. So
Yeah.
yeah, so those sessions are done in quite a different way, because it's very much about coaching and information, and kind of action steps to kind of move forward after the session, but it includes deep energy healing in the Akashic Records as well.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I mean, it's a wonder any of us are, when you think of like all the ancestral stuff that we're
Mm.
carrying, all the cellular memory that we have within our bodies,
Oh gosh,
what,
yeah.
all of these things, and it's something that I'm aware of as well. That the power of ancestral healing and the importance of it as well, because
Hmm.
a lot of what it is that we're going through is we're basically have the generations behind us. But the beauty of that also is that the work we do on ourselves, we not only free ourselves, but we
Hmm.
free those that have gone behind us, because they didn't have the tools or the
No, they
awareness
didn't.
or the insights or the understandings to know that this is what it was that was happening. So that
Yeah.
makes us being here hugely, hugely powerful. So it does, and
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's
yeah,
such a
um,
gift, that
yeah,
we can do that, and we're in a position at this point in time where we have the tools, we have the consciousness, and we have the desire,
yeah,
and the freedom to be able to do that as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, for the Akashic Records, so it can be about accessing anything that you want to access. Do Strange question. Do people come to find out their soulmates, or have they met them? Like from that point of view, do they? Because for me, I know we choose, the souls that we're part of, but I also know that we have like powerful connections.
Mm.
Souls that connect to each other, that share the same vibration, that are here to support each other and to allow the people to do what it is that they want to do. But can it allow souls to come in and help, or our soulmates to come in if you clear these things out, or are they part of? Well, I suppose it depends on your soul mission, but um, so yeah, soulmates.
Yeah, I mean, some people do come to me because for, let's say, like a relationship reading. So they perhaps are having challenges with a relationship, or they
Okay,
want to understand their relationship at a deeper level. So I can open up to Akashic Records and see if these two souls, how many lifetimes they've had together, what were their relationship dynamics, what life lesson are they supporting each other with.
yeah,
Um, obviously the soul profile, so their divine gifts and their soul group, which
yeah,
invariably is different, but not always. But it's just really understanding also if there's any karmic stuff. So are they kind of tied together from a sense because they're trying to work through a contract or a vow that they've made to each other or something like that. So and
yeah,
from that perspective, it's a negative, and so clearing that really helps the relationship,
yeah,
to kind of move on, or be elevated, whatever. But sometimes, they can just be souls, as you say, that come in and just support us with our
yeah,
experiences, and with us working through our own karmic stuff. And
yeah,
they're the souls that usually you feel like you've known them for lifetimes. It's very comfortable. So it's a positive experience. And so
yeah,
usually if you feel like you've known somebody for a long time and you've just met them, then
yeah,
you've undoubtedly had some kind of lifetime in the past. So when I looked at my hubby's, our connection there, we're on
yeah.
our 36th lifetime together. It's
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
I was just like, oh my God, I can't get rid of him. it's kind of like, so, and we did have a couple of things that were tying us together, but interestingly they were created in this lifetime and not any other lifetime. So
Okay.
we've always been married, as you know, we've always been a partner. We've never been siblings or, you know, son or daughter or anything like that. We've always been kind of connected intimately. So we do have a bit of a joke around that you know, we're not going to come back together in the next one. You know, we're going to have a break. We're going to have a lifetime off.
Well, you say that now.
Yeah.
Wait till the next one. Interesting
Yeah.
you say that, because I remember, you know, when I was examining my own relationship with, you know, with my then husband, you know, when we went in deeper and deeper, it was like it was like I wanted somebody to come in that was going to support me financially or whatever. Which, you know, that's the way that it actually turned out. But terms and conditions apply, and I hadn't read,
Yes, they do.
I hadn't read the fine print. So it's like, yes, you know, we think sometimes we think things are a good thing, you know, but in fact, but we do learn, you know, and we would still, even to this day, even though he has another partner in his life, I mean, we would share a very strong bond and a love of, you know, because it allowed us to do what it is we were meant to do and what I was meant to do, because I wouldn't lead the life I did if I didn't have him supporting me in letting go.
Yeah.
You know, that,
Yeah.
you know, that he made it easy for both of us, you know, so that, you know, it was almost like recognizing the right time. And sometimes people don't realize that in a relationship, that, you know, there is a right time to actually let go.
Absolutely. I mean, there is a time where you get to a point and it's kind of like one person's, you know, staying on the bus and the other
Yeah.
person's getting off, because
No. Yeah.
it's just at the end of that particular journey. It doesn't mean it's the end forever, but
No.
everybody, you know,
Yeah.
both parties have actually got everything they've needed from that connection up until that point. So it's sometimes we can place a lot of emotional intent and angst really on relationships, and
Yes.
it's thinking about them in a different way, you know. But I know
Yeah.
from an emotional perspective it can be hard to do that.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter, like, even though, you know, on some level that the decision is right, doesn't mean that you don't go through a grieving process or a letting go,
Absolutely.
or and part of it is like rediscovering, particularly as women, the part of you that's lost, and rediscovering that part of you that allows you
Absolutely.
to expand and grow, and to grab life with both hands. And you know, there are times when you just go, do you know what? And I often talk to myself and say, never did I ever think this was a good idea? You know, it's like, no, make it easy. You know, hard work is all done. It's like, no.
Yeah.
You know, we all come to things like that in our own life. So from the Akashic Records, then you can go for, obviously, we've just spoken about for soulmates and for relationships and things like that. And then it's like for jobs, if to see if you're in the right job. And then it can be for just general guidance, or it can be it can be just as simple as, what is my soul mission?
Yeah, I mean, people do go in there to so any kind of things, you know, soul lessons, you know, what is the lesson that I'm learning in the situation? What is my, you know, divine gift? What is my divine purpose? And most people that I kind of, in the information that I read and I have to kind of agree with, our purpose really is to have a human experience.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of outside of that, you know, it's to learn our karmic lessons and to get the experiences there. So outside of that, it's kind of like, well, really, what do you love to do? What is the stuff that you can do for hours, and, you know, time just seems to go past like that? That is where your gift is, and it's how you can build on that. So for me, it is creativity. I you know, I've always been creative, and I know that is one of my gifts. For some people, it will be holding space for others. It'll be allowing them to, you know, people to heal. It will be having beautiful compassion. It will be to bring truth to the world. It will to be, you know, it will be to inspire people. We all have these different gifts, but it's just kind of where you get the joy from it, and that will give you a massive clue in terms of, you know, what your natural gifts are, and it's just how you can embody that and bring it into, you know, into an audience or to your family if you wish. You don't,
Yeah.
some people just don't, they're doing their mission, and it might be that they're just holding space for family and just, supporting their family, and that is their mission, so it doesn't have to be big and grand, I suppose. It's just whatever we really enjoy doing, that is your mission for me.
Yeah. And I think that because I totally agree with that. You should always be doing something in life that makes your heart sing, because that will be that's definitely a guidance, for you and for me. Um, Connecting with women that are innately powerful, but that may not necessarily see their own power yet.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
the fact that they're coming to me, it's all right that they sense it, but they're not quite there yet. So for them to be able to connect to that power within them, so that they can embody it, so that they can, and you're totally right. It's about whether I call my business Time to Sparkle and Shine, but it's sparkling and shining in your own life. You don't have to be on stage to do it, but it can be
No.
within the family. And you said it beautifully when you said, like, holding energy. People don't realize that the mere fact that they're there,
Yeah,
is huge, that it may
yeah.
be it creates a safe space that allows others around them to follow their dream. And
Yeah.
that's beautiful. So it
It
is,
is. It's like it is. It's you're facilitating others' missions, and if it's a more of not an important or bigger mission, but it's just a different mission. But some
yeah,
people are amazing at facilitating and
yeah.
encouraging and being the cheerleaders.
Yeah,
So, and
totally.
that's a
And
beautiful
you're
gift.
absolutely, yeah. And I think everybody should have somebody in their lives that tells them they're great.
Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah,
Don't underestimate the whole thing of, and you said it with the cheerleader, the fact of having somebody saying, do you know what, you're doing brilliantly.
yeah,
When I was going through my separation, and I, because I was suddenly on my own with three kids, and I had a really good friend called Mary, and every so often, we'd go up, we'd go for something to eat, we'd go for long walks, and she'd tell me I was great. I was
yeah.
like,
And you do need it. Your soul
and you
sisters, you
really
totally
do need
do.
it just to keep going, because you're coming out of a way of thinking and being that you've been in for, like, for me, for nearly 30 years, and rediscovering part, and that, you know, learning to trust yourself and your abilities and your intuition
Yeah,
and all of these things. It's like, particularly when you feel the rug has been pulled out from underneath you,
yeah,
and finding your feet again. So, a lot of the time, even for us to be telling, do you know what, you're doing great, and
yeah,
well done for turning up, and
yeah.
well done for, for following your intuition and being here, and just, you're great. So
Yeah,
you
no,
are.
it's yeah, and like you say, don't underestimate the power of those words and the
Yeah,
sentiment behind it. Because I think people that are more prone to, say, mental depression and stuff like that, um, having those types of people in your life, I do wonder, whether they would be so down,
yeah,
if they could hear that just a little bit more.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Mm.
Because we all need reassurance. It doesn't matter who you are.
Okay.
And
Yeah, totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
we all need, I had a tutor at one stage, because I trained as a nurse, and she just said, the mere fact of you being here is just praise enough. You don't need praise for me. And it was like, no, everybody needs praise. Everybody needs to be appreciated, to be seen, to be
Mm.
heard, to be valued. And why not throw praise in there? It's definitely an extra ingredient, magical ingredient.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all divine beings, and so we're all
Yeah,
equal in that sense. So the more that we can recognize that in others and tell them that,
yeah,
then it goes a long way. Yeah.
totally. And so because you're part of, this is part of your evolutionary process. Do you have an idea of what direction you're going to go into next? So obviously the Akashic Records are very much part of it.
Mm.
But usually, obviously expand, you know, because this is part of your expansion and your growth and whatever. Is there a direction that you'd like to go in, or, you know, that you get a sense of, or are you just, you know, this is where it is that I am for now? Because we don't have to decide now what we're going to do for the rest of their life, but sometimes we get a sense of, do you know what, I quite, it's like when you open the door to energy work, it's like, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try that, because it's like each one gives you a sense and a taste and a feel and a sensory experience of being you, basically,
Yeah,
of tuning into what
yeah.
it is that resonates with you. So for you, what's next? Do you know?
Um, well, I'm going through a number of changes where I am changing my business in terms of some of my services. So I'm very much still focusing on the bringing the Akashic masterclasses to the masses.
Yeah,
So I'm really kind of excited about the more people that can connect with their Akashic records and learn to use them as an empowerment tool. I'm, you know,
yeah,
very excited about that. Where that will take me, I don't know. There could be,
yeah,
I don't know, some certification as clothes. Well, I'm kind of just coming to a close, or I'm coming to an end of my Akashic Business Activator program. That's a group program for female entrepreneurs. That is yeah, so that's just coming to the end. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing with that. And then I've got my one-to-one sessions, which are basically being up-leveled into a much bigger container. So you get to work with me for 3 months in a really, really big way. So that's a very deep kind of working process. So that's
yeah,
for obviously female entrepreneurs. It doesn't have to be generally, it is generally females that I work with, and women that are in business, you know, that are
yeah,
leaders within their own communities. So
yeah.
that's kind of where I'm heading with my work. I'm going to just throw in also that I'm looking at wanting to create my own oracle cards as well, or
Oh,
tarot pack. So I'm going to be, I think that's going to be a passion project that
yeah.
I'm going to be starting soon, hopefully. So
Yeah, that
watch this
and
space.
yeah, that's fascinating because I love that, and I think, you know, we've come a long way from the time when there was only Doreen Virtue, and now,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
it's like she was the forerunner, but there are so many
Mm.
powerful men and women out there that are creating packs of cards that are basically like energy activators,
Yes.
that give you
Yes.
insight and understanding to what it is. And, you know, because it was interesting you were mentioning about for women entrepreneurs, because I think that's something that, you know, is definitely needed. Because I think as women we have, because of the ancestral stuff from a female point of view, of
Mm.
the whole thing of being, you know, of being told what to do, of being lives being controlled, of your intuition, and, you know, all of your gifts being basically dampened down over the
Mm-hmm.
centuries. So it's like there needs to be a light that, you know, a wind that blows that allows the because I do like visual more than yourself, allows the fire to take, you know, to take hold, because each one has all of those gifts and intuition within them that all need just to be like, you know, when you
Mm.
went for the Akashic Records, that switch to be switched on, particularly about money, because, and money and value, because that's something
Yes.
that we're actually struggling, that and the feeling of being imposters, you know, all of these things that women are struggling with at the moment, because
Yeah.
they don't have the ancestral memories of generations of women that have gone before them that have been really
Mm.
powerful and really in tune and following their intuition. And I suppose that's why this time is such a great time to be alive, because there are so many women, you know, that are out there doing their own thing and being successful at it. You know, if we can't earn a living from the joy that we bring, then, you know, we won't be able to inspire others. We need to, you know, we need to have
Mm.
been inspired ourselves. We need to be, so that universal blessing of money, you know, is just gifted to us on a daily basis. And you go, yes, I
Absolutely.
accept,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But
you're
it's something that
absolutely
we need to
right.
work
Yeah.
on. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's one thing that I do, you know, very much endorse the Akashic Records to support you with in terms of self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem, the money
yeah,
challenges, and that's very much an aspect within the business program. That we go deep with that, but it's also, learning to use your Akashic Records and the business side of your Akashic Records. So your business has its own Akashic Records, your property has its own Akashic Records.
Okay.
Your animals have their own Akashic Records. I don't read animal Akashic Records, by the way, but your business and your property, so I use my business chambers of my Akashic Records, on a daily basis, because that's how I channeled my program to actually deliver. This is where I get my information to run my business. It's from my business Akashic Records. So it's a powerful tool, and obviously you can do lots of healing, get guidance, and also I like to install success anchors into the Akashic Records. So we can't tell the future, but what we can do is we can influence the future by placing affirmation or symbols or healing or whatever it might be, and we can really influence the outcome of what it is that we want to achieve by giving it intent and giving it some kind of symbol and kind of something solid that goes into your Akashic Records. So that's kind of what I do, and that's what I can teach other ladies.
It's so fascinating. I never even thought about your business having its own Akashic Record,
you've got business Akashic
or your
business
property.
Guides, and I have a board meeting with the soul of my business and my business, Akashic guides, and we sit down at the board at the board meeting, and we kind of discuss what's happening.
Wow. Oh, great. I'm glad, because from the beginning of the conversation it almost seems like you can use it for this, but it's fast.
No, it's fast in terms of what you can use the Akashic Records for.
Great. Marina, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I always love connecting anyway. So if people want to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
Okay, so if you look for me on social media, it's Marina the Soul Alchemist. My website is marinabeech.co.uk. And that's the best way. So I'm normally on Facebook, but I'm on Instagram as well, and my website. I'm on LinkedIn as well, but website or Facebook is the best place.
And every Sunday morning, Marina does a card reading. So she does, for those that want to, that if you want to do something that, because it's funny because I linked in with the one that you did last Sunday, and the card that I picked, and I was going like, oh my God, you're talking to me.
It's amazing how many people resonate with and it's actually because you pick your own card. It's pick your own card, weekly guidance. And so the 3 cards, but every week it seems to be spot on for people. And I get so much feedback, oh my God, the cards are, talking to me, and it's amazing. It's amazing. And I just love doing them. It's one that it's kind of a session now that I've been doing for a number of years, but it's become quite an established kind of live event that happens on Facebook every week. So it's great. I love it.
Fabulous. Listen, Marina, an absolute pleasure. I'm so much wiser now and so much more insight into what it is that you do. And I love the whole thing of the Akashic Records anyway. I think they're such a powerful tool. I'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely.
Bye, darling.
Thank you
Love
so
and
much
hugs.
for having me. Speak to
No
you soon.
problem. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.